How's it going, everyone? I hope you're all doing well, and today we're going to be taking a look at one of the most requested phones for me to take a look at, specifically the iPhone XR. Whenever I see people talk about the iPhone XR on the internet, people seem to really like this phone. It seems to have amassed a little bit of a fan base, and honestly, I actually think it's a pretty decent phone. So today, we're going to take a look at my 5 reasons as to why you might want to consider picking one of these things up in 2022. And first of all, it is because it is one of the cheapest notched iPhones. Now, for those of you who remember when this phone was released, you will remember that it was actually the budget alternative to the iPhone XS, which was the flagship of that year. I think that's honestly what gave this phone its initial bit of a fan base. It was the first budget notched iPhone, because before that, all of the notched iPhones had been $1,000 or more. Well, $999. So in 2018, the iPhone XR was the more accessible iPhone. Instead of having a 5.8-inch OLED screen, it had a 6.1-inch LCD screen. It also has one camera instead of the standard 2 at the time, and overall this led to a cheaper iPhone. And in 2022, it's even cheaper. Furthermore, buying a used iPhone XR is actually probably easier than buying a used iPhone XS. While I am personally, of course, a big fan of the iPhone XS, the iPhone XR was available to buy new for much longer, and so subsequently, there is a lot of choice out there on the used market. Often nowadays, you can get a super good deal on the iPhone XR, and in this regard, it is still a great budget iPhone. The next reason why you might want to consider buying the iPhone XR in 2022 is simply because it has a pretty crowd-pleasing screen. Now, the OLED versus LCD debate is surprisingly active. I don't really want to get into where I stand on that personally, but a lot of people on the internet do say they actually prefer LCD screens, despite not providing the contrast levels of an OLED screen, purely because OLED screens give them headaches. In my personal experience, I've never had that issue, so if you are a fan of LCD screens, then the iPhone XR does actually have a pretty good one. While it might not be the highest resolution or the newest technology, it is still a really nice looking phone screen. Honestly, I'd be totally happy using this thing as my only phone screen. Whenever I use the iPhone XR, whenever I'm in like a review period, I do find to get used to the screen much quicker than I think I'm gonna, and at 6.1 inches, which is essentially the de facto standard iPhone screen size nowadays, it is a good size. Personally, I do prefer the smaller screens, but with a 6.1-inch screen, you get enough real estate to be able to watch videos without feeling cramped, and it's not too big to the point where that lower resolution actually starts to show. So yeah, if that sounds good to you, then you might want to consider checking out the iPhone XR. Next up, we have the camera. Now, it might seem a little bit weird for me to initially include this, but I actually think the iPhone XR, for most people, has honestly probably the ideal camera. As a phone photography enthusiast myself, I do have to remember sometimes most people just use their phone cameras to take fun photos. And for that, the iPhone XR does a fantastic job. I mean, you still do get a main and selfie camera, you get 4K video recording, you get portrait mode, and so out the box, while it might not have all the features that someone like me would want, so night mode, raw photos, different angles, I genuinely do believe that for most people who just want to take photos for social media or just to capture some memories, then the iPhone XR does have a great camera. Furthermore, because it doesn't have all those extra features that you might not need, it is less to break. Realistically, cameras can be quite temperamental, and while I personally haven't had many issues with iPhone cameras in the past, if you don't need an extra focal length, then it is less to go wrong. And as I said, in 2022, I still think this is a good basic camera system. So the fourth reason as to why you might want to consider buying the iPhone XR in 2022 is that it has still probably got plenty of life left. Seeing as this thing was released in 2018 and iPhones typically do have a pretty good life cycle, I would guess this thing's got at least 2 years left, maybe even 3. And in the grand scheme of things, that's actually not bad. Like, a lot of Android phones to this day still only get 2 years of updates. Like, the iPhone 8 still supported. So realistically, if you want to get this thing and you don't want to upgrade immediately, then the iPhone XR will certainly stay good for a decent amount of time. Whether that be 2 months, say you buy this phone as a transitional phone, say you've broken your phone and you need to get a replacement, picking one of these up and waiting for an iPhone 14 might not be a bad idea. Or you want to use this thing as your main phone for the next few years. Either way, from looking at previous iPhones and their support cycles they've received, I still think the iPhone XR does have a decent amount of life left in it, which very much plays into my next point, which is the value for money. As I said at the start of this this video, the iPhone XR can nowadays be got for a really good price. It was also a really good value iPhone when it was announced. Seriously, there is a reason why there is a lot of used iPhone XRs on the market. People loved this phone. And back then, I think it was like $700 almost. Nowadays, on a good day, you can find this thing for under $200. In my opinion, that's pretty good value. I mean, my first iPhone was a used iPhone 7. I think I paid almost $200 for that. And so maybe you want a first iPhone. Maybe you're in a similar situation as to what I was. My Samsung Galaxy S8 and I really weren't getting along. It was also kind of broken. I dropped it, so everything had smashed. And I was at the point where, after talking to some of my friends, I wanted to try iPhone. So I found something usable at the time that wasn't going to break the bank, and I settled on an iPhone 7. I personally think, as of now, the iPhone XR is that phone. It has a decent amount of features with nothing crazy, and all in all is a nice value package, whether it be for a younger sibling or, as I said, you just want to try an iPhone. And so while it might not be my perfect phone, as I said, I'm a big fan of mobile photography and I do prefer smaller screens, but all in all, I think the iPhone XR is a pretty great value package in 2022. Now, one word on buying used iPhones, please always check your battery health. I would always recommend trying to get an exact battery health number. Definitely don't buy an iPhone with a service battery unless you get it at like a really good price and you want a bit of a DIY project. So yeah, that is the biggest thing I would recommend when looking to buy a used iPhone. Alright guys, so that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Let me know, by the way, what do you think of the iPhone XR? You like it? Do you not like it? Do you own one? Are you planning to buy one? Feel free to let me know in the comments. I always enjoy reading those. As for now though, as always, thank you for watching. Remember to like the video if you want to see more content like this, then smash that subscribe button. I'm done for now, and I will see you guys in the next one.